Hey guys, how's it going? Kripparrian here. So we have the upcoming Hearthstone expansion, Rastakhan's Rumble, coming up. Going to be some pre-release action really soon from this video. Make sure to tune in to the all-day stream. Now, there are a lot of people at this point in time who contemplate whether or not they should pick up Hearthstone once again. You know, Hearthstone's been out for such a long time now that, you know, it has a lot of returning players, and a lot of people who think about playing the game are a bit intimidated with all the new things that have happened, and those of us that are still playing the game, I thought you guys can get something out of this video where I talk about all the different things that have changed in the last few years or so, at least in the last standard block in Hearthstone, kind of get up to speed if you're thinking of coming back, or really, you know, kind of see everything that's changed in the last little while. So, first off, packs work very differently than they used to. So there used to be like a pity timer, well there still is this one, so you would never go more than 40 packs without getting a legendary card. So if you opened like 39 packs of the same set, you might not get any legendaries, but if you open 40, you were guaranteed one. And it kind of ramped up a little bit. On average, you get a legendary every 20 packs. That hasn't changed. The 40 pack pity timer has not changed, but there is a new pity timer of 10 packs for the first time. It's like a one of when you open new packs of a new set. So if you haven't played in the last two expansions, and then we have the Rastakhan's Rumble coming up, each of those three, for example, in the first 10 at the very most, you're going to get one legendary card. So if you're playing on a new account, or if you're, you know, picking up a set you haven't played before, you haven't opened any packs from, you should at the very least find a way to get 10 packs. You know, that might just mean buying 10 packs with gold, but you know, if you really want to be efficient, buy one at a time, so whenever you get that first legendary, the next one is guaranteed in the next 40. So it's just really important for every single set that ever was that you've missed perhaps, or this upcoming expansion, open packs at most 10 until you'll get your first legendary. Always do that. Another thing that has come in, there's a lot more legendaries. There used to be one legendary per class, and I don't know how many, typically around 9, 10, maybe 11 neutral legendaries. Now each set has like 4 or 5 more legendaries than they used to. And that's because each class has 2 legendary cards, and there's fewer neutral legendary cards as a result. Typically what this means is the classes have more identity, and it doesn't feel so bad when there's like one bad class legendary, because it's very rare that both class legendaries are really bad. So, you know, if you really like to play one class, there's typically at least, you know, some flavorful, interesting things on the high rarity end of things. But yes, there's more legendaries to get, which you might think would end up costing you more. You have to get more packs to get all the legendaries. Well, that part has also changed. You cannot open a legendary that you currently have. So this is really important. If you have, let's say, half of the legendaries, and then you keep opening packs, you will never get one of those half. So you will always get a legendary you don't have when it opens in a new pack. And there's certain things that you can do to manipulate this. So first off, in the more common practice, what you want to do is you want to just open all the packs that you're planning on opening. And don't disenchant anything in between. Because what can happen is, let's say you're going to open 50 packs, okay? So let's say you open 10, you get a legendary you don't want. If you disenchant that, you can get that legendary you don't want again. But if you leave it in your collection and open the rest of the packs, you can't get that legendary again, and you can just disenchant it after you open all of your packs. So there's little micro things. They will add up, and they will basically increase the overall collection you'll get from the same amount of packs. One thing I like to do, if you are an absolute omega whale like myself, what you can do is force out golden legendaries. So if you're opening like hundreds of packs, like yours truly does every expansion, please watch, by the way, what you can do is you can disenchant constantly the same legendary card until you get it golden. So for example, I really wanted Golden Lich King, so I kept opening packs, and whenever I opened a legendary, which was a Lich King, because that was the only legendary I was missing, I would disenchant it. And I did that, 10 cycles until I got Golden Lich King. So you can force golden legendaries if you really want them, and you are a mega whale like myself. So the pack system is a bit better, I would say. there's more flavorful cards. You end up getting a wider variety of cards for each class, and you don't get as punished for bad pack opening RNG as you used to. In terms of the cards themselves, the things that you open up, there's some very interesting considerations. In the last little while, like the last 2 sets saw almost no constructed play. If you're talking about the last set, the Boomsday Project, there's like no cards that anyone is playing in like any deck. So you can just kind of like skip that expansion if you really want. I'm serious. Now, that might change in the upcoming expansion. Hopefully it would. Hopefully some of these cards that have been overlooked will come to shine. But, realistically, maybe not. The expansion before that, the Witchwood, very few cards are played from the Witchwood. Generally, just maybe a handful, but they include 2 very game-changing cards that you need to know about. They are Gen and Baku. Okay, these 2 cards basically shape the game. Typically, it's not 100%, but typically, since these cards have come out, they have been like all of the Tier 1 meta decks. There's been almost no Tier 1 meta decks that do not include one of these 2 cards. So, you're going to see a lot of odd decks and a lot of even decks. This is what people are talking about. They're talking about Gen decks or Baku decks. They're just really good. The consistency of having a cheaper or a more powerful hero power gives you early game consistency that overall rises above the less consistent only draw-based decks. So for example, if you compare like a Baku deck to a Zoo deck, the Zoo deck, can certainly beat a typical odd deck, typical Baku deck, but it'll have a bit of a range. The Baku always has that upgraded hero power. That's typically what you do on turn 2 when you play a Baku deck. That consistency is really valuable, and it makes those decks extremely powerful. So be aware that these things are going on. If you want to play seriously, there is a good reason to get one or both of these, just so you can kind of keep up with the game. Another very notable card, especially if you're just, checking out Hearthstone, you want to see what the new expansion is about, and you don't want to, pay up too much. Whizbang! Yes, this card basically pulls up the most current deck recipes, and they do change. So as expansions roll out, you're going to get new decks that you can try out, and they're going to be with cards you don't have. So if you have Whizbang, which was a card released in the last expansion, and you're playing it in this upcoming Rastakhan's Rumble expansion, you can see what the deck recipes are from Rastakhan's Rumble to see if you like playing it, how powerful these cards can be. It's kind of like shareware version of Hearthstone. It's a very cool card. It's not like a competitive card, so don't lose your mind on that. People will know when you're playing Whizbang because your deck's going to be ultimately pretty weak. At the start, people are going to have no idea, but ultimately, it's not going to be competitive level, but you get to experience the game without actually buying packs when a new expansion comes out, and that certainly can be a very valuable experience for people who are playing Hearthstone a bit more casually than most. In terms of the content itself, ranked mode is still about the same as it has ever been. You queue up a deck, you do whatever, a lot of odd decks, a lot of even decks, you guys know all of that stuff. In terms of the other aspects of the game, when a new expansion comes out, every new expansion is followed with solo content, and lately it's been great. When people ask if they should play Hearthstone, what I recommend is they play Dungeon Run, they play Monster Hunt, they do the puzzles. This is all free content. There's no paywall, there's no rewards, but there's no paywall, and it's just really fun. It's really fun solo content, and every expansion moving forward is going to have some component to add to the solo content collection. So yes, if you're a brand new player, I highly recommend you try those things out. If you haven't played those ever, and you've kind of been watching these videos, seeing if you want to try Hearthstone, now is a good time as any to check out that solo content. And even with this Rastakhan's Rumble expansion, we're going to get some Dungeon Run-like content. It's typically a week to 2 weeks after the launch of the expansion. So it's about 10 days after, I think, this time around. So you can expect that. And certainly, I expect it quite ambitiously. The last moment here, I want to talk about Arena. Arena has changed quite a bit over the years, but most certainly very recently. So Arena no longer operates based on cards having the same chance. So, like a couple of years ago, if you got a common card, it would be beside two other common cards, and common cards would just have the same rarity as one another. And then rare cards would have the same rarity as one another. It's kind of like emulating packs in your draft. Arena doesn't work that way anymore. Arena works with what's called bucket systems, and in these bucket systems, Blizzard basically uses algorithms and statistics to basically guess how good the cards are, and they're separated into a range of buckets. So let's pretend there's like the best bucket, which is like 10 out of 10 cards, best of the bunch. And there's like a 1 out of 10 bucket, which is like super crap, and like 8 buckets in between. So when you're given a card, it's not like you roll common and it gives you 3 random common cards. It gives you, let's say you rolled the best bucket, it'll give you 3 of like the best cards for that class. And because Blizzard has the power to manipulate the frequency of how these good buckets show up, so basically, what they've done lately, as an example, Paladin, which typically has the best cards, is one of the worst classes in Arena because they never get their very good cards. They're just it's really rare that you would get the high buckets when you draft a deck as Paladin. Warrior is the best class in Arena, but Warrior actually has like the worst cards. But what happens is when you draft a Warrior deck, you see the high-ranked buckets a hell of a lot. Much more than Paladin, for example. So what this means is, regardless of the actual balance of the cards themselves, Blizzard has another level to like rebalance the game through the probability-based rarity bucket system when drafting Arena decks. Like if Blizzard wants to make Shaman the best class in Arena, they can do that by just snapping their fingers and changing a few variables, and they have been doing that. So Arena typically feels very fresh, and it feels quite balanced. We don't really have the moment in Arena where one class just beats up everyone else. There really is like a top 3, top 4 in Arena that can contest that spot fairly well. And yeah, sure, some class has to lose out, but in Arena, if like the top half of the classes are good, and they have been under this new system, you don't have that feels bad feeling when you're playing a deck or a class you don't want. So Arena, it's great. That's it for the update. Hope you guys are informed. If you guys do want to check out Hearthstone, well, I'll be streaming Rastakhan pre-release into Rastakhan full release. Enjoy the videos and enjoy the streams.